Hey yo fam, I'm gonna keep it so real with you guys. If you made it to this video right here, you guys are meant to be in the presence of greatness. You guys are now witnessing me become one of the greatest reactors, not only in Canada, but in the whole world. You know what I mean? You guys hurry up and subscribe to the channel. Don't be some goofy goobers out here, you know what I mean? Hurry up and subscribe to the channel. Stop procrastinating. But yo, today we're reacting to the Don Jail, Toronto's Crucible. And the channel we're reacting to is Kind of History TV. Kind of History TV. My bad, I can't read. You know what I mean? Let's get straight into this.
The Don Jail in Toronto was one of Canada's most dangerous facilities. The inmates who resided within its walls were exposed to mass overcrowding, murders, and riots. The jail also had a long history of escape attempts and guard brutality. Before it was closed in 2013, both guards and inmates complained of its horrible conditions. This is the story of Toronto's Don Jail. Before we get into this, I just wanted to take a quick second to shout out everyone who supported the channel this far. I always enjoy to hear your guys' comments and really appreciate anyone who takes the time to watch these stories. With all that being said, let's get right into today's story. The jail was constructed between 1858 and 1864, which means the building is older than Canada itself. It was designed to rehabilitate inmates and house them before they were convicted. The Don Jail was initially dubbed the Palace for Prisoners due to its progressive living conditions, but this reputation was short-lived and would become known for a more sinister reason. Capital punishment wasn't abolished in Canada until 1977. Between 1901 and 1960, the
Capital punishment, say a word. I never knew they're allowed to kill people in Canada, you know.
Don Jail seen 26 hangings. These executions were carried out in an old dirty bathroom which was converted into a death chamber. On December 11th, 1962, the Don Jail seen the double execution of Arthur.
Are you serious? Are you serious? The last person they had to murder there had to be this black guy.
Lucas and Ronald Turpin, the last hangings in Canadian history. The jail also became known for its frequent escape attempts. This reputation became solidified in 1951 when inmates Edwin Boyd and Lenny Jackson formed the Boyd Gang within the Don Jail. The two men were arrested for separate bank robberies, but quickly became friends while serving time together. The gang stored a hacksaw in Lenny Jackson's artificial leg, which they used to cut the bars of their cells. They then scaled the jail walls using bed sheets and made for their escape.
That's crazy. That's some real prison break shit. What the hell?
While on the run, the Boyd Gang were linked to 6 bank robberies in Toronto alone, one being the Royal Bank of Canada and Lisa.
Yo, these guys touched road and hit 6 licks. Some real criminals.
Where they made off with more than $46,000. This was about $562,000 today, and was
46 bands back then is 500K now. That's how inflated money is. That's how inflated money is. You know what I mean? So if you had 100K, you're a millionaire. If you had 100K back then, you're a millionaire.
The largest bank robbery in Canadian history at the time. The Boyd Gang were arrested again in 1952 and were sent back to the Don Jail. But this proved to be a grave mistake as they quickly escaped again. This time by
they escaped again? How do you escape jail twice?
More creative means. Member William Jackson dehydrated himself for days so his skin could form an imprint of a key. After stealing a guard's key and returning it, the gang used an imprint on his palm to craft one of their own. They used this.
Bro, these back in the day criminals are like some Einstein criminals. They have nothing to do but think about crime all day. How do you starve yourself so your skin could take the imprint of a key and then cut a key with it? Bro, this is even real.
To unlock their cells and fled through a second-story window. This sparked the largest manhunt in Ontario's history. On March 6, 1952, Lenny Jackson and Steve Shushan took the life of Detective Edmund Tong. Shortly after this, the Boyd Gang were discovered to be hiding out in a barn and were arrested. Lenny Jackson and Steve Shushan were quickly found guilty for the murder of Detective Tong. They were both executed at Don Jail during a double hanging in December 1952. Edwin Boyd and Will.
Damn, a double hanging. Yo, back then they were not playing.
William Jackson were not.
But at the same time, these guys were more devious. I can't lie. Like, you don't see criminals like this nowadays. They escaped prison twice, hit 6 banks, killed 2 detectives. Like, bro.
Not tried for the homicide, but they did serve time for their roles in the spree of bank robberies. Both were released from Kingston Penitentiary in the 1960s. In 1958, construction of the Don Jail's East Wing had been completed. It was built to house an additional 225.
Look at that toilet, bro. Look at that toilet. Imagine the rats.
Inmates, but in 1977, the jail's original building had become completely outdated and was no longer used to house inmates. The East Wing became the building's primary facility and was quickly overcrowded. By 1980, the Don Jail held anywhere between 500 and 600 inmates on any given night, double the capacity it was initially intended for. On an average day, you would see 3 men cramped together in a 2-man cell.
Why do I hear this story at every jail? It's like they just pack people up like sardines. This whole thing is just a plan to make money. You know what I mean? Not only in Canada, the States is the same thing, but hey, Canada is one big scam, I tell you.
One having to sleep on a floor mattress. This, unsurprisingly, created a hostile environment between inmates. The 1980s also seen a surge in street gangs within Toronto. Blocks throughout the city had formed bitter tensions and would take their feuds behind bars. The Don Jail was ill-equipped to combat Toronto's rising gang culture and force rival gangs into close proximity, which led to numerous beatings and retaliations. Even up until its closing in 2013, the building had virtually no cameras on its interior. This created a recipe for disaster for some people who had gathered enemies on the outside. In January 2000,
Bro, if you heard about the Don Jail, I'm sure everybody who's around my age heard about the Don Jail. That shit's like gladiator school, you know what I mean?
2010, Kevin Philippe, an inmate at Toronto's Don Jail, lost his life during a brutal beating committed by other inmates. 4 men circled Philippe, attacking him until he was unconscious. Guards on shift disregarded other inmates calling for help, taking it for a joke. When they discovered what had happened, another inmate had dragged Philippe's body out into the hallway, crying out, "How could you let this happen?" This situation painted Don Jail guards as incompetent, and they face other accusations of beatings and mistreatment, but these claims could never be backed due to the jail having no cameras or physical evidence. What can be proved is the unsafe conditions inmates were forced into. First-time offenders were piled with killers and career criminals, forcing the weaker inmates to become victims. In November,
That's why don't do the crime if you can't do the time, brother. Because you don't want to be in there with a murderer or a robber, and you're in there for some parking tickets, brother, or some petty theft, brother. Because life's not fair, brother.
2009, Jeffrey Monroe, an inmate who was previously diagnosed with schizophrenia, also lost his life in a savage beating after he was accused of stealing another inmate's chips. Guards on duty.
A bag of chips. See what I'm talking about? A bag of chips. Man's flipped him over a bag of chips. Holy, brother.
Guards on duty complained of understaffing to be the reason for this incident going unnoticed, which was an issue that had been reported on for nearly a decade prior to this incident. The facility had become increasingly more outdated over the years.
Bro, just imagine having a job as a prison guard. You're going to jail every day. So you're in jail every day. Your job is to be in jail with these inmates. And especially in a jail like this, you're in jail with killers every day. You'd be depressed, bro.
As turf wars raged across Toronto, the Don Jail couldn't contain the violence within its walls. Tensions increased while gang members were locked up together, adding another element to the city's gang culture. In some extreme cases, people were targeted as soon as they were released. This was a brazen and easy way for gangs to get the drop on their enemies. In 2007, a 21-year-old was shot dead outside the Don Jail gates while he was being released. Incidents like these have happened outside.
Crazy. A man got shot after being released. Bro, it gets real in this jail. People think Toronto's a joke, bro. It gets real. Even back then it was worse, bro. Man, I getting let go of jail and getting slapped out. That's crazy, bro.
Other facilities in Toronto as well. The Don Jail was officially closed in 2013. but like many other correctional facilities, we'll never really know the horrors that went on within its walls. Well guys, I hope you enjoyed that video. If you guys have any stories to share on the Don Jail, definitely leave them down in the comments below. I know I'd enjoy to hear them, and I'm sure others would as well.
Yo, honestly, the Don Jail is mud. Kids, stay in school. You know what I mean? Don't smoke. Become a streamer or something. The streets is not it. You don't want none of that. You know what I mean? Because when you go in there, you're gonna be with the big boys. You know what I mean? Me, on the other hand, though, you know what I mean? I can handle myself. Big 365 Browns king, right? Nah, I'm just joking. Stop. I'm trying to be in there like that, family. But yo, fam, do you think the criminals of back then are smarter than the criminals of today? Honestly, make sure you guys subscribe to the channel. Keep it locked. You know what I mean? Another reaction. Keeping it consistent. You already know. You gotta stay locked in. You already know.